Hi, everybody, and good morning. It is Wednesday, January 19th, and we're here for my Wednesday Intro to Psych class. Welcome. I see a bunch of you getting logged in and getting your names into the chat. So, good morning. Thank you for being here with me. Can someone let me know, is everything coming through fine on your end? Can you hear and see me okay? Just if someone could let me know in the chat, that would be fantastic. Good morning. Perfect. Thank you. Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Awesome. Okay. Thank you so much for letting me know. It's cold this morning. It's chilly, right? I love it, but it feels a little cold though. I'm excited about it. I hope everyone is doing well. I hope you all had a really nice long weekend, right? We had an extra day, which I know kind of makes it a little bit difficult to come back, but at the same time, it was nice to have a nice long weekend. Both of my favorite teams advanced in the playoffs, so that's very exciting. Brady and the Bucks and Mahomes and the Chiefs. I don't know if they'll make it through this week because they both have some brutal matchups, but very exciting that both of them made it another week. I will take it. So lots of great football. We had a little bit of rain and it's cold. All good things, right? All nice things. So anyway, thank you again for being here with me early in the morning on a Wednesday. We'll do our time today will take maybe about 30 to 45 minutes for our stream. And we don't have quite as much to go over this week because we don't have to go through the structure of the course like we did last week. But my general format that we'll do is I'll go through and give you some feedback from the previous week. So I'll talk a little bit about the discussion from last week, where you can find your grades, and some of that kind of stuff. And then I will give you some reminders for this week. So go over, what is due for this week. So make sure you are clear on that. I will give you the Twitch extra credit question, and then I will always end with some time for questions. So if you think of any questions between now and the end, make sure that you jot them down, and you can always put them in the chat, and I would be happy to answer them for you. So that is our plan for today. So let's go ahead and head over to Canvas together and take a look at some of that stuff. So here we are on our course Canvas page. We are in week number 2. I haven't heard anything yet, still no update as to whether or not this week and next week will be the end of our virtual time, or we're going back, or what we're doing. As soon as I hear anything, I promise to pass that information along to you. But for now, we're just continuing on with our virtual like we had planned. So before we talk about week number 2, let's go back and look at week number 1, which is done and in the books. And so what you will see traditionally is the weeks end Sunday night at 11:59 p.m. And then on Mondays, I go through and I grade all of the materials from the previous week. Now, I do have 7 classes, so oftentimes I don't finish that grading until the end of the day. It takes me all the way through the day to do that. But I do grade everything on Monday, and then typically Monday night, I will send out an email with some feedback about the stuff from last week and some general like reminders and announcements. So hopefully you were able to see your scores and your grades for everything from week number 1. I did send out in the announcement on Monday a little video that I made about how to find your grades and your feedback. If you scroll up just a little bit here, there's a page here called Grades, Timing, Finding Your Feedback, and Using Them as a Learning Opportunity. And so I did make a little video for you showing you how you can find your grades. Again, describing that typically Monday, I will be grading everything, and that you're always going to want to use your grades as an opportunity to learn. So if you didn't quite get the score that you wanted, what can you do a little bit differently this week to improve? And I'll talk about some general things that I saw that people did well on and struggled with to help you with that as well. So if you couldn't find your grades, I would definitely recommend watching this little 2-minute video that I made showing you where you can find your grades and so on. And I will be using a rubric. So every week I'll be grading with a rubric, and I also will give you some kind of general feedback and comments Typically, if you got full points, I wrote like great job or excellent or really nicely done. If you didn't get full points on the discussion, I usually told you why, like I wanted a little more detail, or your definition of nature and nurture was a little bit off, which I saw a lot. So always look at that feedback, and if you don't see it, watch that video for where you can find it. So overall, last week, I was pretty impressed. Most of you did a really nice job on discussion number 1, where you were looking at, what did you think of with psychology before we started? What were some of the subfields? And then thinking about nature and nurture and this quote. The biggest place that I saw people struggle was on the last part, right? So some of you define nature and nurture a little bit incorrectly, not thinking about them in kind of like a psychology lens. So some of you, when you thought about nature, you talked about like plants and trees and animals. Nature is more genetics and biology, what you were born with naturally. And nurture is more like the experiences and the environment and the things that you have learned. So that's probably the biggest place that I saw people struggle, was defining nature and nurture just a little bit incorrectly, or not defining them at all. A few of you reacted to the quote, but didn't define nature and nurture. So just make sure that you're always answering the questions fully. Give me lots and lots of details, show off your knowledge and comprehension. Several of you lost like a point or two for maybe just not quite giving me enough. So just make sure that you're always elaborating. And again, I gave you feedback on your grades so you can see what you could do better moving forward. And know that I always tend to grade the first 2 discussions a little harder, just because I want you to get that standard from the beginning. So if you ever want to know more about your specific grade, you can always email me, and I'd be happy to talk about it more with you. But generally, I give you that feedback with the rubric and some comments underneath it. The other big thing that I saw, several of you forgot to respond to a classmate. So remember, when you look at the instructions, that in addition to responding to my prompts and questions, you need to read through a minimum of 5 of your classmates' responses and reply to one of them. So some of you forgot to reply to a classmate. I know it's only 2 points, but they're an easy 2 points to get. So you always want to make sure that you're doing that and getting those 2 points for each of the discussions. And if you ever want some more like tips and the rubric and everything, you can visit that here. I have this set of instructions before every discussion, but mostly nicely done. A lot of you got A's, a lot of 13, 14, and 15 points on discussion number 1. Great reflection. I love your responses to the quote. So very nicely done. And that was the one big thing that you did have due last week, was discussion number 1. So just make sure that you're always looking at your feedback. And again, if you ever want more specific feedback in a little bit more detail, you can always reach out to me. A lot of you did the optional extra credit, which is fantastic. If you do this consistently or continuously, it's a lot of points. So definitely continue to do these extra credit opportunities. Just my way of rewarding you for being on here with me early in the morning. And I did post the recording of it. A few of you watched the wrong stream. So remember that I do teach 7 different classes, and so I do a live stream for each one of them. And so if you watched the wrong one, you might have gotten the wrong question, the wrong reminders and announcements and assignments and everything. So make sure you're always watching the right stream. It says at the top of the stream, it says the title, which is our class and the day and so on. I also post that recording right here in order to help you make sure you have the right one too. So you'll notice it says Monday, Wednesday class live stream week 1 and the date. So just make sure you're always double checking that so you don't watch the wrong recording and waste your time and get the wrong question and maybe be confused. You don't want to be confused unnecessarily, right? So I think that's everything for last week that I wanted to say. Are there any questions or comments or thoughts or anything from last week before we move on to talking about this week? Anything you're still confused about or want me to highlight? Anything at all from last week, or kind of general class stuff before we move forward? I'll wait just a second, since you usually Again, about 20 seconds or so behind me. Otherwise, what we'll do is we'll move on to talk about week number 2. All good. Thank you, Isabella, for letting me know. Normally, I could look out and see you, right? You'd all nod at me or something, and now I can't see any of you. It's such an adjustment. Even after almost 2 years, it's still an adjustment. So thank you. I appreciate you letting me know that you're feeling good about it. That's good to know. Okay. Well, if you think of anything as we go along, feel free to put it in the chat. Thank you, Miriam. Again, I appreciate you all participating in the chat. Makes me feel like you're still there. So thank you. I appreciate it. So this week we move on to week number 2. And very similar to last week, you'll see that we have a lot of consistency, which hopefully makes it easy to remember what is expected of you. So this week we move on to chapter 2, which is looking at psychology as a science. And so we're talking a little bit about research and how we think scientifically. So order of business number 1, you're going to want to read chapter 2 in the ebook. I really think that's a great way to start. It's up to you. If you find it's easier to do the lecture first, that's fine. But for me, I like getting the overview of the ebook as a starting point. So make sure you read the chapter in the ebook. And then you're going to want to do both of the lectures that I have on here. So one is more of a typed lecture, and the other is a video of me traditionally lecturing to you with PowerPoint slides. So if we take a look at the chapter 2 lecture, we haven't heard anything yet. So it's not next week. Either way, we are scheduled to stay online through the 30th of the month. So all of this week and all of next week. So this week and next week are 100% online. That 3 weeks ends on the 30th. And so if we were to go back as it stood originally, it would be on that Monday, the 31st. But I haven't heard anything yet. There hasn't been any update. I think they're waiting to see what happens with our numbers, which are still really bad. So as soon as I hear anything, I promise to pass that along to you, but nothing yet. Sadly, no update at all. And trust me, I would love to know, because it completely shapes what we do and how I approach our class. So as soon as I know anything, I promise to pass that along to you right away. So just keep checking your email and your announcements, and I'll let you know as soon as I hear anything. Okay? I'm anxious about it too. I don't blame you for asking. Of course, yeah, no worries, no problem. So here's the chapter 2 lecture, and just like the one for last week, there are 5 pages. So make sure you read through all 5 of them. You can listen to me reading it to you, or you can read it yourself. So page 1 is the objectives and summary. Page 2 is the beyond the book. There's a little video here about aliens. Please make sure you watch it. I think it's a great connection to pseudoscience versus science. There's some really kind of interesting characters in there, and some very interesting statements that are great ground for critical thinking. So make sure you watch the videos about aliens. I made a video about correlation versus causation, which I think is a really helpful review of the differences between correlation and causation. Remember that anything I put in here, you're going to want to click through and watch. It's all stuff that will appear on the exam, and me trying to help you understand it. In popular culture, there's a couple of cool shows and a really interesting book that I just thought I would pass along to you. If you're really interested in the topic of science versus pseudoscience, this book is a really interesting read. And then there's a couple of shows that really highlight looking at scientific explanations and myths. The 4th page is key terms and review. So these are all the terms from this chapter that you'll need to know for exam number 1. Which we'll take in week 4. And then on the last page is always the application. Now that you've read through this in the book and the lecture, how can you apply it to your life? This one's about thinking critically, which is a really big part of this chapter, learning to think more like a scientist rather than using intuition and common sense. So make sure that you read through, click through, watch any videos, everything that's in the lecture. And then the second lecture that is on here for you is the lecture video, as usual. So you'll click on this, and here is the video. This one's on YouTube as well. Since there weren't any outside clips in here, I was able to post it. Otherwise, it'll be a Zoom link. And so this is me lecturing to the slides. Make sure you take notes, pay attention. The materials on here will definitely appear on the exam. And a lot of those terms that you need to know are things that I cover in the lecture video. So hopefully you find these helpful. It's me just sitting here lecturing to you to the slides like we would do in person. So should we go back at some point in person, it will just be me doing it in a classroom instead. So we'll see again what happens. But make sure you read the chapter, read through the lecture, and then watch the lecture video. You also have a discussion this week, as always. So discussion number 2 has to do with research, which is our topic for the week. So as always with these, make sure that you watch the little video that I made. I think these are really helpful. I try to go through the prompt and give you some more examples and kind of talk it through with you. Make sure that you answer my questions in detail, again, showing off your knowledge, answering them fully. Think of it like a mini paper more than a discussion. And so you're making sure that you get enough detail in them. Then you're also going to read through, as we just talked about, a minimum of 5 of your classmates' responses, and then make sure that you reply to one of them in order to get that 2 points of credit. So 15 points in total, 13 for your responses to my questions, and 2 for your responses to a classmate. So here are my questions down below here. And if they're thinking about, how would you think like a psychologist, right? So you're pretending for a moment that you are a psychologist with an unlimited budget and unlimited resources. What would you be interested in studying and why? In other words, if you were to conduct research on anything, what topic would you examine and why? Describe what you would want to know and how you might get at that. And it doesn't have to be related to psychology. If you would like to know something else, I want you to think of anything, right? If you really want to know, how many people watch football, or I don't know, I thought of football right off the bat, right? How many people have had COVID? Does it matter if you drink a cup of tea before bed versus drink a cup of coffee before bed? How does that affect your sleep? It could be an experiment. It could be more of a survey. It's totally up to you. Anything that interests you, even if it's mildly inappropriate, I totally don't mind. I want it to be something that you want to know more about. So come up with a topic, and then what are some of the questions, right? What do you want to know? How would you examine your question or topic? What type of research method that we covered in this chapter would you use, and how would you set it up? This is your chance to show me that you understand the different types of research, and you can pick one that's appropriate. How would you set it up? Describe it. Would you do a survey? Who would you ask? What would you want to know? What are the advantages and disadvantages of your type of research? What would it tell you, but maybe not tell you? Are there any ethical concerns? And if so, how will you address them? You can have some ethical concerns as long as you tell me about how you would deal with them in your research. So really important that you've done the reading and watch the lecture before you try and do this, or you'll definitely struggle. Make sure that you answer all of these in detail. When you're ready to do that, you'll hit reply. And just like Matthew did here, right? And this looks good so far, Matthew. I like this. I like your topic and everything here. So just like Matthew did, you'll answer the questions. And then let's say I really like his topic and I want to reply. I would hit reply right here. I really like Ella's topic and I want to reply. I would hit this. So just make sure that not only are you answering my questions, but also one of your classmates as well. And I really look forward to seeing what you want to know. Again, it can be anything. Right now, I can tell you in my other class that's a week ahead of you, a lot of questions related to COVID, but it can be anything that you want. I'm completely open. Just make sure that you're connecting it to the materials for this week and really showing off that knowledge and comprehension. So those are the really big things, the core things for this week: reading the chapter, completing the 2 lectures, and doing the discussion. We also have the optional Twitch extra credit. And then don't forget every week to check on that wrap up checklist, right? Have you done everything that is on here? These are all of the things that are due this week. Just one more quick reminder for you to make sure that you don't miss anything. But I do have a couple of announcements, and then I will give you the extra credit question here. But any questions or anything so far? I mean, you can ask me at any time, of course. But anyone have any questions or thoughts or comments? While I am waiting for you on that, a couple of reminders on my end. I'm going to remind you of this every week. Please take a moment, if you can, to make sure that you are subscribed, if that's possible. Again, please don't ever pay for this. I don't want you paying money for this. You already had to buy a book. Classes are expensive enough. I don't want you to pay for this, but it should be something that you can do for free. And Not very many of you did this, only a handful of you. And again, I'm sorry to keep asking, but it really makes my life so much easier and also minimizes your ads and makes your experience smoother. I want to point something out too. If you scroll up, a few of you, like for example, I'm going to scroll all the way up here. Brittany, you have the crown next to your name, but not the football cake. So what that means is you missed a step. And this is really common. People think that they're done, but you haven't finished it all the way. So Brittany, I see that on your name, and I'm sure a few of you maybe have that as well. I want to show you the last step, and a couple of you emailed me about this, so I'm just going to take a minute to show you, and then we can go back and get the extra credit question. I cannot show you on my channel because I can't subscribe to myself, but I'm going to show you on my friend's channel. So if I go to my friend's channel, Sticker G, these are my buddies. They're really big streamers, and they're pretty popular. Much like let's minimize their sound here. But these are my friends, and they're the ones who turned me on to Twitch. But if you were on my channel, so pretend this is Psyched with Setmire, there's this purple bar right here. And a couple of you, I think, kind of skipped this step or were confused about this. And so I just want to show you, since you asked me. Oh, I kind of missed them. Like, oh, there they are. So we don't see anyone anymore. I feel like I'm in my house all the time. I don't know if any of you feel that way. I just feel like I'm always at home. But if you click on this purple bar and click the down arrow and scroll all the way down to the bottom, they hide this at the bottom because it's free. And so, of course, that means they make it more complicated. But all the way at the bottom, there's this little box that says use Prime sub. See how it has the little crown? If you click on that, then it allows you to subscribe for free with Prime. And this is the last piece. So here, thank you for letting me know, Tropical Geek, you didn't see that. Okay, so it's right here. So here's that purple bar. And again, I'm not on my channel, I'm on my friends just to show you. But if you were on Psyched with Setmire, pretend this is mine. They play video games. Sadly, we don't do that, right? But if you click on this purple bar here, click the down arrow, and all the way at the bottom, there's this little use Prime sub. You click that and then click subscribe for free with Prime. You're out of screen. Oh, I see what you're saying. I can see it on my end. Depending on the size of your screen, you may or may not be able to see it. But there is a little purple bar on there. Let's see if I can make it smaller on my end. Hold on one second. Let's make the screen a little smaller. Itty bitty. You should be able to see it now. So again, here's the purple bar right here. It's underneath like this little intro up at the top. You should be able to see it now. I made it smaller. Hopefully. Yeah, the size of the screen is small. I made it smaller now, so hopefully you'll be able to see. Maybe not. And if you can't, it's right here underneath. It's purple. I'm looking at my screen to see if I can see it. I'm watching 3 screens at the moment. It might be a little bit more than I can handle. All right, 62 different screens. Right, I'm just trying to make it where you can see it here. So now it's really, really small. You should be able to see it. There's this purple bar. And when you click on it, you scroll all the way down and you click on use Prime sub and subscribe for free with Prime. Right. So again, you know, I'm just, a couple of you asked me about that. So I wanted to show you where you could find that. But if you can figure it out, I appreciate it. Just since I can download that list of your names, it saves me a ridiculous amount of time. So thank you for those of you who've done that. And it's not too late to do that if you haven't already. You still can't see it, huh? Well, hopefully you can see it when you go. Now you know where to look for it. It's right underneath that bar. The other reminder I have for you is our next Twitch live stream. I can't talk and type. I should learn this about myself. Our next Twitch live stream will be on Wednesday next week, and next Wednesday is the 26th. So 1/26 at 8:30 in the morning. Okay. So our next Twitch live stream will be next Wednesday morning at 8:30 like usual. We will plan on that next week and the week after. And again, as soon as I know anything about us going back or not going back, I will let you know. You have a question about our first exam, Isabella. Will we be given materials to study for a practice test like the orientation quiz? So what you will be given is a study guide, right? So, and that's a fantastic question. Let me take you back for 1 minute here to Canvas. So if you wanted to start studying for the exam, which isn't an awful idea, right? If you wanted to start preparing a little bit at a time, you will on week number 4 be given a study guide. And the study guide will give you everything that you need to know for the exam. But if you wanted to study sooner than that, every single lecture, these lectures that I created for you with the 5 tabs, on that 4th page are the key terms that will be on the study guide. So all the study guide is a compilation of these different terms from the 4 lectures that lead up to the exam. So if you wanted to start preparing as you go, let's say this week you're like, okay, I'm going to focus on all of the terms from chapter 2 while we're covering it. These are the terms that you'll need to know for the test from chapter 2. If you go back to week 1, you'll see all the terms from chapter 1. So if you wanted to do a little bit at a time as we're going through, that would be a wonderful way to approach it. And then when we get to week number 4, all of these terms are just compiled together in a document called the study guide. But if you wanted to start reviewing now, you already know the terms from chapters 1 and 2 that will be on the test. And during week number 4, when we get there to our first exam, I'll show you where to take the test. We'll talk about how to be successful. I'll give you a bunch of tips. And yes, the exams are open note, open book. I will highly recommend that you study like you would for an in-person test. Regardless of whether we go back or not, this first exam is going to be online. Okay, so if we go back in person, I'm not going to make you take it in person. But let's not worry about that right now. So just plan this first exam will be online no matter what. It will be open notes, open book. But if you're trying to look up every answer, you are going to run out of time. So what I would strongly suggest is that you study a little bit at a time. I'll tell you about how to complete the study guide when we get a little closer. But if you did want to prepare a little at a time, go through each of the lectures and make sure that you know the terms on that 4th key terms page. Okay, and I love it. I love that you're thinking about the exam, thinking ahead. Don't worry. I will never trick you with exams. I know exams are stressful, but I want you all to do well. I will set you up for success. There's no trick questions. If you've been reading and paying attention and following along, you'll be in great shape. I think the exams are very straightforward and clear. Again, I want you to be successful, and as long as you prepare for them, you'll be great. I promise. Most people do really well on them, okay? Especially when they're online and you can use your notes and everything at your disposal. So the last thing that I want to give you, I have the Twitch extra credit question. I reminded you our next stream will be next Wednesday morning. But our extra credit question for this week, I wrote it out. So let me copy and paste it here into the chat. Going back here. Okay, so the extra credit question for week number 2, what is meant by the phrase correlation does not equal causation? I want you to explain and give me an example. Okay, so I'm going to put this in the chat. What is meant by the phrase correlation does not equal causation? Explain and give me an example. Okay, so when you're ready to answer that, after you've done the reading and you've watched the lectures, I definitely go over this in several of those things. You'll go back to Canvas. And since we're in week number 2, you'll click on optional Twitch extra credit number 2. Now remember, these are completely optional. You don't have to do this, but you're here with me online right now. And so you might as well get those 2 points. And it's great practice for things that will be on the exam. Make sure that you put your name at some point in the chat. Unless you're subscribed, then you don't need to worry about it because I have a list of those of you who are here. When you're ready, you'll click Start Assignment up here at the top. I'll click that. And then that's going to open up a text box where you can type your response. And as soon as you answered the question all the way, you'll hit Submit Assignment. You get that little confetti burst, which is so rewarding. And this is due anytime before Sunday night at 11:59 p.m. So I do grade these throughout the week. I try and kind of keep on top of them throughout the week. And so if you submit it early and get it wrong, I will let you know. You can always try again. But this will be a really great review, and it'll help you to understand what's kind of a key concept in this chapter. So make sure that at some point before we finish today, you put your name in the chat if you haven't already. And again, if you do have a moment sometime today or sometime this week to go figure out the subscribing with Twitch for free, please do that. I really appreciate it. It just makes it smoother and easier. There's a lot of you who could look into that still. And if not, that's okay. As long as you can find me and you're doing okay and you don't mind putting your name, that's all right as well. So just don't ever pay for it. That's the one thing I insist on. Please do not pay for that service. Okay, it should be free for you. Otherwise, I think that is everything that I want to cover. Get going on the materials for week 2. Make sure that you have your ebook, that everything's registered and set. Be checking your grades. If you have questions about your grades or something is wrong, reach out to me. A couple of you who added the class late, if you haven't sent me your a screenshot of your mandatory orientation quiz score, make sure that you do that. And if you have any questions about anything, remember, I'm always here. I'm checking my email all the time. I'd be happy to get back to you and help you out. So just reach out to me if you're confused or if you need help. I'm here. I'm here for you. So that is the end of kind of our official time. If you have any questions, please feel free to hang out and put those in the chat. If you don't, I hope you have a wonderful week. Take care of yourselves. Enjoy what should be some really amazing football games this weekend. The Chiefs versus the Bills, that's going to be insane. And the Rams versus the Bucks. I don't have a good feeling about my Bucks for that game, but I think it'll be a fantastic game. So I really am looking forward to all of that. Very exciting. But have a fantastic week. And again, keep checking your email. As soon as I hear anything in terms of any updates, I promise to let you all know. So stay safe, stay healthy, and I will see you all next Wednesday morning. I'm going to minimize my video, but I will hang out for the next 8 to 10 minutes or so if you do have any questions. Is that a dog? I love it. 3 dog faces. I think that's funny. Yes. No. So Anna or Anna, if you added the class late and you didn't get your orientation in before the deadline because you added late, otherwise you should have a grade for it and you should be all set. So that's only for a few people who added the class after the mandatory orientation deadline. Otherwise, you should be fine. Thank you. I hope you all have a wonderful day as well. I don't know. Thank you, Tropical Geek, for trying to help them out. I know it's a little confusing to set that up, but once you do, you should be in good shape. Okay. Perfect. Thank you, Jasmine. And you can always go back and watch it later. And you might consider doing that, Jasmine, because you only have the crown next to your name. And I talked about you missed the last step to make sure that you're actually subscribed to my channel. So you could always go back and watch the recording. It'll be up in a couple of hours, maybe an hour or so. Once we finish today, what I do is I download it and then upload it. So just like last week, I will post a recording of our live stream today right under the assignment for this week. Okay. All right. Thank you, everyone. Again, thank you so much for being on here with me. It makes me happy to see all of your names in the chat. So thank you so much. Have a wonderful day. I'm going to minimize my video, but again, I'll hang out for a little bit if you do have any other questions for me. Yeah, if you have a personal question, I mean, you're welcome to put it in the chat. If you're comfortable putting it in the chat, go for it. If you would feel better emailing it, that's totally up to you. So it's completely your choice. If you feel comfortable, go for it. And if you'd rather email me, that's totally fine as well. So you said, bye, thank you so much. I'll try to, won't let you, but I'll work on it. Okay, Brittany, yeah, you did everything but that last step. So just, again, if you go to my channel, click on that purple drop-down bar, and you should see it all the way down at the bottom, and that should help you. You've already linked your accounts, but you didn't do that one part. Holden, yeah, I remember Holden from years ago. Same last name, right? Yeah, I remember Holden. It's been a while, but yes, for sure. Hopefully that means he recommended me, right? That's great. I love it. I love it when I have people in the same family. That's very fun. Yeah, no worries. Sounds like a plan. Yep, both of you. That's great. And yeah, always feel free to email me. It's totally up to you. You can put it here or you can email. You know, that's totally fine either way. Nice. I love it. That's great. Keep it in the family. I like it. Well, tell them hello for me. Perfect. Oh, well, that's great. And it's obviously very different online than in person, but still, that's fantastic. I love it. Thank you. You too. Yeah, definitely let him know I said hi. And I am still here if any of you have any questions. Otherwise, of course, feel free to email me if you think of something later on. All right, it looks like there's only about 1 or 2 of you left in here, so I'm going to close this up so that I can download it and post it on our site. But if you think of any questions, feel free to reach out. Have a wonderful week, and I will see you all next Wednesday.